So this is video 2, or well, this is actually video 1. It's the second video in the series on the boxing and pugilism. Today we're going to be going over some basics, literal basics. I'm going to talk about the different types of strikes that you really need for, this is for Western striking. And then some things that you really need to know, again, on the most fundamental level. So we'll start off with the most important. This is your pawn in the chess game of pugilism, right? So this is the jab. And there are 3 basic types of jabs that you need to know. I'm going to do them out of order from what's up there. You have your standard jab, which is just that. So the key to understanding this one is, first of all, always understanding the zone. So the jab starts being effective at this range and ends at the full length. At the full length, it's like the Chinese saying, the arrow reaching, the end, it has no power. So you can, of course, always harry the nose, but it's much better if there's a little bit of bend left in the elbow for that. And the jab becomes especially effective if you can change the angle somewhat, right? Because if you're always from here throwing the jab, they're expecting that. But if you come over here and you throw the jab, they don't usually expect it. If you can especially catch it when they're already throwing something and you change the angle. And it's okay to square up on that motion just because of what you're doing. If this were kickboxing, you wouldn't want to square up, but it's quite all right. Now, the standard jab in a street fighting style becomes sort of replaced. It's also kind of like a drunk style. And this is the technique of when you roll your shoulder. So it helps to protect my jaw, and then I can flip up like that. Okay, so it's not a backhand, because a backhand would be like this. That's also a great single distance strike. But here I'm tightening this up, and you see how I've got my ribs all protected. It's not easy to get to me, and it's very deceptive in terms of the distance. So I'm here, and then when I step up, I've got the flip jab there, and I can flip, and cross. All right. And then there's what I call the fencing or stick jab. It's called stick jab because it's just like lands and it's like boom. It's in Chinese Kung Fu, in the Xingyi, we call it the stopping energy or water. Here, I'm back here and I lean into it. So that's it. It's just a leaning forward jab. Boom. See that motion? You're going from kind of a back-loaded stance almost into the front. So you're faking the distance somewhat. It's not true faking of the distance, but it is a little bit deceptive because I'm here and I'm suddenly at single distance. The rule is the more my body moves, the longer the zone's going to get. So with the flip jab, it has to really be in that short distance. Okay? When I have a fencing jab, though, I can be effective from here to here. You see that? So it's lengthening the length of the jab. Of course, you're going to achieve, let's talk some physics, you can achieve more momentum by being bigger and stronger. Also, by weight training, you can increase the efficiency of your muscles, and because the muscles then twitch quicker, you get more acceleration that generates more force. If you want to deliver more energy, then you need more velocity. And so acceleration is also good in that way. And then finally, when it comes to momentum, you want to deliver it in a way that delivers as much energy as quickly as possible. However, I'm going to give you a caveat. So I could, when it comes to the flip jab, I want it to bounce, an elastic bounce, okay? Because I want to deliver as much momentum to his head and then pull. It's not that I'm pulling it back, but it's bouncing off. When it bounces off, it delivers twice the momentum, roughly, right? You have to calculate it if you want to know exactly the amount. However, another way of looking at it, especially when it comes to the stick jab, if you practice that style, is I want to hit the core of his head. And to hit the core of his head, I have to displace his head, which means you're not going to want to hit at this distance. You're going to want it to hit with still the half moon. So now you're taking advantage of some other technologies. All right, now when we head from there into the cross, it's just like in volleyball. You have the set and spike. The jab and the cross work together in perfect harmony because it's right and left. So I have my jab and then I have my cross, where I can flip, and then I can cross here. Cross has basically the same rules as a sticking jab. except the mechanics are different. So with the fencing or stick jab, I'm leaning this way. With the cross, that hip has to rotate, and I need to be turning that back foot, right? So that it all. Now I still need root though, so you don't want it to like come up like that. At least not at this stage, not at the basic stage. So I'm coming here. That's my cross. Now I can cross, and then one of the great secondary moves, especially if you want to add a little bit of the fighting knowledge. When I do that first cross, load up with and grab the back of the head, and now do what's called the hook cross. So the mechanics there is combining the hook, but it's still just a cross. So I'm here like this. And you want a good L shape on that. You don't want to be back here. You don't have any power that way. Okay? All right. The other alternation for the cross is, of course, the overhand. This is really popular with hard-hitting fighters like Mike Tyson, and coming up, and then you can come straight down. Now, a lot of people, they come up way high. I don't think that's necessary. I think you just got to get over their guard and go for the top of the nose. Right? Or go for the temple right there. Okay? Now, speaking of the hook, there are two main hooks. I'm going to do the short one first. The short one looks like this. And it goes across the face. It's like a crescent kick. A crescent kick doesn't go to the back of the head. Right? It goes to right up here and goes across. Same thing with this hook. I want it to come across just like that. And I want to keep my elbow up. Okay? Now I could come up low like that, and that's fine. But there's a better way to achieve that, and it's a little bit more advanced than the basic level. Like that. But with the long one, you could do it from the back or you could do it from the front. The long hook, you're using that half moon shaper technology and coming across here. Now, it's a good one also for changing the angle, for getting the solar plexus shot, liver shot, or from, if you can, the kidney shot. But if you're going to go for a kidney shot, almost the best hook is going to be that shovel hook, because if he's up, and then I could throw something up here and then catch him here, and that shovel, that's again coming from the hip and up. Okay? And never presume upon one strike. So after I come up, then I should be coming down. Maybe the overhand, maybe a cross, maybe I step back and jab to get off, right? Because your jab is going to set up the spacing. Then, the last of the four major ones are the uppercut. Now, there's one, I call it the tight, which is this. Right? And it's usually a body shot because he's usually got his guard up. When you're this tight, he's usually tight like that. So I'm getting a nice tight shot. You can also do a long one. Right? Especially if I can pull this arm down, I have this uppercut here. Or I can come from back here and come up. And again, with the same mechanics as for the cross, you want to use that jade ring stance coming up here. I'm mixing in my Chinese Kung Fu, I know, but when you're doing it correctly, it all looks the same anyways. Then we have what I call it kind of a jack jaw. So this is for zero distance fighting. This comes from the waist and goes straight up. Straight up. So it's nice and tight like this, straight up. And you have to be able to push from the floor, because all the power is going to come from the floor. All right, so you need to practice all those using a mirror, using a bob if you've got one, using a heavy bag, obviously, and again, practice that exercise with the paper. Speaking of distance, you'll notice these all have different distances slightly. They're not all exactly single distance. The classic single distance would be the standard jab or standard cross. Okay? But when you're talking about the short hook, technically I'm at half distance, right? Because it's the same as this. And when I'm doing a long hook, technically I'm at kind of a halvesies of. It's like single distance, but I really actually want to be slightly further, believe it or not, slightly further than single distance. And that's where you're going to get the most ideal power. That one being closer in relationship to a haymaker, which is just a wild swing like that, has a wide range. A haymaker has a really wide range of effectiveness. That's why it's very useful in street fighting, because you're flailing and you're catching somebody somewhere. But it's not very precise, and it's not very reliable, and it sends a huge telegraph to let the person know, which means it's going to help them with their timing. All right, so the long hook has a lot more control, and if you are really good with the feet, you can even, you could fake this way and then come over and long hook from here, then come up to the back of the head. You can rabbit punch, not in a competition, but in a street fight or self-defense situation, rabbit punch back here, and then you can grab from here, and you can do the uppercut from the side, you see? So they work together by changing the distance and the angle. And distance and angle become a yin-yang pair, working off of each other. When it comes to timing, there are three really basic ways to set up your timing. One is the typical jab, jab until you know. A lot of people are jabbing so that they can know exactly where he's at in their brain, and it helps their accuracy. That's a beginner's technique. Most of the advanced fighters, you think of Ali and you think of Bruce Lee, etc., right? They drop that hand. They don't want the person to know where they're coming from. And so I call that all cheats. Right, you can get a little, like I'll put my hand on his waist and I know exactly where he is. Or if he's got his guard up, I'll press on that. Right, and I can not only displace his, I can not only gauge the distance, I can displace his shirt, and I can even open him up for that or that. Okay, now I lose a little bit. Anytime you cheat, you lose something. So anytime you use a cheat, just remember it's not like perfect. Like if I'm faking the distance with this foot, I'm opening myself up to the back, and I can't move that very quickly. Lastly, I can use their telegraphs in order to read their timing, or I can use telegraphs to establish timing. And one thing, of course, everybody, I think, should learn how to switch stances. So let's say that I'm switching stances here, right? I can fake it like that, and then he's going to react. Once he reacts, he's going to drop his guard. He may not do it right away, in which case then I can fake again, and then I can come back and try it again. Now, once he starts dropping his guard a little bit, he's getting used to you, and of course you're moving in circles, that's when you can set him up for a series of, or a combination of punches. Now remember, the rule is, especially in self-defense, bunches of punches. Don't presume on like one jab or one jab cross or one jab hook. Make sure that you have the idea of overwhelming the odds. Because when you're in a self-defense situation or a street fight, either situation, you must assume that the energy and the pressure is against you to start, that you're the prey. Now, this going out on the web, I know it might be going out to somebody who's the predator. However, I don't think that they're going to put in the time, because most predators don't, to become a real scientist with this stuff. So I'm assuming you're a good person. Hopefully you never go out and commit a crime using the sciences I teach you. But if you do, you'll be very good at it. These sciences they're not new. They're very old. Take, for example, the upper jab. Right? Everybody remembers this. Well, what is this about? This here is a timing. Right? I'm messing with their timing. And then I have faking the distance. And then I have the combination of the uppercut and the jab, which is still a basic. It's just slightly more advanced. So, there's nothing new to any of this stuff. It's been around forever. You have any questions? No? No? Okay. Well, I guess that'll do it for this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and come on back for part 2, in which we will do some of the next level on this kind of stuff. I'll basically leave this up. We'll write some notes up here, and we'll take it to the next level. We'll also talk a little bit of footwork. Thank you very much.